Museveni receives the Executive Secretary of IGAD. Risk Atlas launched with more funding calls. Supreme Court dismisses case against Chief Justice. While in sport, the Uganda Hippos ready to dislodge Burkina Faso at the AFCON Under-20. Good evening once again and welcome to News Tonight, the second edition. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has today received the head and CEO of the General Electric Healthcare Company, Miss Catherine Estrams, who called on him at State House in Entebbe. General Electric Healthcare is renowned in supplying medical equipment in Africa, Europe and Middle East and is now willing to extend their services to Uganda. The equipment supplied include ultrasound x-rays, mobile general x-rays that can be used in rural areas as well as x-rays for chest scanning among COVID-19 patients. President Museveni warmly welcomed Ms. Catherine to Uganda and assured her of government's cooperation in the acquisition of the medical equipment that will be used in hospital facilities in Uganda. The president also asked his guest to take interest in wooing more investors to Uganda, especially those who deal in agricultural processing. Catherine Estrams, who is based in Israel and was accompanied by the General Manager and Director Sub-Saharan Africa based in Nairobi, Kenya, Eyong Ebai, was very delighted to be in Uganda and East Africa for the first time and said their services mainly handle hospital projects and the transmission of healthcare systems. The delegation also to more investors to Uganda. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in other news, has this afternoon received the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, Dr. Wakne Gabeheyu, who paid a courtesy call on him at State House in Entebbe. The envoy was on a consultative visit and was accompanied by the Ugandan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sam Kutesa. He conveyed greetings and felicitations from President Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia to President Museveni upon his victory in the recent polls. President Museveni and his guest also discussed matters of mutual interest between Uganda and Ethiopia as well as regional issues. Relatedly, Minister for Foreign Affairs Sam Kutesa has met the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, Dr. Wakne Gabeheyu, at the ministry headquarters in Kampala. Top on agenda, the two discussed issues to do with development, security and immigrations, among other depressing matters affecting the region. We have details to this report.
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Sam Kutesa, has met a delegation from Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, led by the Executive Secretary. The meeting was to highlight key initiatives in the areas of socio-economic development, security and peace. Kutesa appreciated the interventions being undertaken by IGAD in the region and reaffirmed Uganda's commitment to promoting peace, security and sustainable development within IGAD member states.
Good meeting with the Executive Director of IGAD, who has come here to visit us officially for the first time since he assumed this office. Of course, he has been here before many times when he was Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, and we are happy. We got a brief on the security situation in the region, on the situation on COVID in the region, and how the organization is being run. We discussed issues of South Sudan, issues of Somalia and the elections, the tension between Sudan and Ethiopia, and we had very good briefings. So we are going ahead now to meet with the President.
The IGAD region is one of the world's largest refugee-producing and hosting areas with up to 11 million forcefully displaced persons. Most of the displacement in the region is protracted, lasting 10 years on average, as for refugees from Ethiopia, Somalia and South Sudan. The Executive Secretary of IGAD reiterated the commitment of IGAD to deliver on the mandate for regional integration for the benefit of IGAD citizenry development. The delegation of IGAD staff and the minister after left to meet the president at the State House in Entebbe. Zahara Abigaba, UBC.
The Department for Disaster Preparedness at the Office of the Prime Minister has cried foul over little and no funding allocated for disaster management. Minister for Disaster Preparedness Engineer Hilary Onek wants a distinct budget for this purpose to change from the reactive to preventive approach of managing disaster effects in Uganda. While launching the National Risk and Vulnerability Atlas of Uganda, Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda decried delayed economic progress caused by natural disasters. Henry Okurut has this.
Whenever it rains heavily in the Elgon sub-region of eastern Uganda, something similar to this happens. The end result is always displacement, physical and mental injuries, unfortunately, sometimes leading to death. Regrettably, Bugisu sub-region is not the only locality that suffers from landslides. In the Rwenzori sub-region of western Uganda, Bundibujo district has its own ordeals to narrate. This is just part of the many natural disasters that different areas of Uganda suffer. In the just launched National Risk and Vulnerability Atlas of Uganda, the country suffers a range of natural disasters. They are spread across sub-regions, with Karamoja suffering more with drought, while Elgon, Bukedi and Rwenzori, among others, suffer more with the floods.
Now, you come to Katakwi, the area in Teso, it is highly prone. It is highly prone to flooding, and given the structure of the houses there, that is why the exposure to floods is so high.
These come with effects that have a direct bearing on human well-being. Failure to manage the situation spirals the effects to delayed national development.
For example, during the period 2010 to 2014, disasters reduced GDP performance in Uganda by 3.5%.
These disasters are holding back long-term development endeavors and progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and its predecessor, the Millennium Development Goals.
This could have been worsened by the continued underfunding of the Disaster and Risk Department of the Office of the Prime Minister.
I wanted us to have distinct budget as a disaster ministry for disaster management, to have a distinct budget which we can then plan and use it effectively at that level. But at the moment we don't have budget in place. We operate along contingency fund. And the contingency fund basically depends on whether the money is there or not. They can give you and you have no money.
The launch of the National Risk and Vulnerability Atlas of Uganda was also graced by the presence of the UNDP representative. Her organization donated disaster mapping equipment to Uganda.
The atlas should not be left to gather dust on shelves in offices or lie idle. On websites, it should be used as a point of reference to guide policy and also to guide action.
But I think what is most important is not so much the money, it's also how we mainstream disaster risk reduction into national policy planning, programming and budget process to make sure that when we're talking, for example, around the NDP 3 today, the 18 programs are able to ensure that disaster risk management is embedded into those programs.
It now remains for implementers to see to it that the facts generated in the atlas are put to good use for proper management of natural disasters. Henry Okurut, UBC.
And now in court, Chief Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo has declined to disqualify himself from the bench handling Robert Chagulanyi's presidential election petition of 2021, challenging President Yoweri Museveni's victory. The Supreme Court bench of 9 judges, presided over by the Chief Justice Owiny-Dollo, has also proceeded to dismiss Malema Bili's application on the same.
With set constitutional timelines regarding the resolution.
Earlier this month, Malema Bilizi filed an application in the Supreme Court on grounds that he wanted Chief Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo to recuse himself from Robert Chagulanyi's presidential elections petition of 2021, saying that Chief Justice was once President Museveni's lawyer. He also asked the court to set aside the ruling which was delivered by this panel, since Chief Justice was one of the panel which delivered this ruling. Tuesday morning, the panel led by Chief Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo kicked off with a hearing of Malema Bilizi's application. The Chief Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo, during the hearing of this case, first had the ground of recusing himself on the panel. The applicant Malema Bilizi, in presenting his submissions to court, told Chief Justice that for him to preside in this matter, yet he was President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's lawyer, it gives a perception to the public.
Like an advocate must work for money. An advocate must be paid. Actually, they penalize you if you work for free or for less amount.
I did it before.
I understand, but yes, that reasonable man.
I was not a friend of the rebels.
Especially
peace in my area.
Especially that this is a fountain of honor with all the money. Another point I need to make. Now, assuming all my points are not considered valid, the jurisprudence in this country shows even when you feel there is no ground whatsoever, you will choose.
Malema Bilizi told Chief Justice that since President Museveni is a prime respondent in Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu's petition, there seems no justice to the petitioner.
It is Kante about a former lawyer representing the party. A party appearing before a client appearing before his lawyer, now judge. That is, actually it is chaos. It is.
However, Mabilizi found it hard to convince court the reason why he filed this application, since he's expert in the petition.
Why would you want to graft yourself to a petition?
I'm not grafting to a petition.
You are. You are seeking to overturn
an application. I'm intervening to save the Constitution.
In reply, the Chief Justice, who accepted to be President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's lawyer, however declined to recuse himself from this case. Dollo adds that being a lawyer 15 years back and a lawyer to the respondent does not in any way affect his decision in the petition before him.
And I've listened carefully to submission by the applicant. Well argued. Now, for reasons I will give in my detailed ruling to be delivered on notice, I decline to recuse.
Malema Bilizi also submitted on the issue of setting aside the ruling, which was delivered by this honorable court. However, it was hard for Malema Bilizi to convince the panel after Chief Justice declined to recuse himself from this case.
You can now proceed on the other grounds of your...
But as I told you, when you decline, then my other grounds fall.
Well, then you tell us what you want to do with them.
They fall. You have made them fall.
After listening to Malema Bilizi's submissions, the presiding justices indicated to deliver their ruling on notice on this ground. Talking to the media, the applicant Malema Bilizi vowed to appeal against this ruling.
So in fairness, it means when you don't disclose conflict of interest, that decision becomes null and void. I'm not satisfied with that ruling. That ruling is illegal. You cannot tell people in any common sense that a former lawyer can come and be a judge of his former client. That cannot happen.
Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Still in matters to do with court, more legal brains have continued to react to the planned withdrawal of the presidential election petition by Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu of the NUP. Former Uganda Law Society President Simon Peter Kinobe, on his reaction, has cautioned politicians against dragging the judicial system into their political wars. This is after Robert Kyagulanyi cited bias by the judges as the reason of withdrawing his presidential election petition that was seeking to overturn President Yoweri Museveni's victory in the last month's election.
We want to understand.
On Monday, the main challenger to President Museveni in the just concluded presidential polls, Robert Kyagulanyi, announced the withdrawal of his presidential election petition from the Supreme Court.
We have therefore instructed our lawyers to withdraw the case from Mr. Owinyi-Doro's court.
For most lawyers, the petition lacked legal basis from the start.
The withdrawal of Kyagulanyi's petition, I think, has been anticipated for quite a while. For some of us who saw the draft of the petition and the way it had been drafted, the withdrawal became an inevitability.
What happened is that they filed the petition and then they went and started looking for evidence. Yet usually when you're going to court, you have your case, you have your evidence, and then you file. But in this case, what we've witnessed is that Honorable Kyagulanyi never had the evidence. He filed the petition and then started looking around, shopping around for evidence.
For Kyagulanyi team, they were determined until suspected bias among the judges started playing out.
It's not true that we do not have evidence. We did have evidence, but like I've told you, the evidence was in a form that would not make it appear in court. Some of the evidence, for example, on the day we filed, Kyagulanyi swore an affidavit supporting the petition and it's on record. Then we have the 50 affidavits in court. But you know that this is a kind of petition where you're looking at precedents where judges have insisted on quantity of the evidence rather more than the quality.
However, some legal experts have faulted Kyagulanyi for deliberately dragging the judiciary into politics.
We've told politicians to keep politics away from our judicial system. There are all these silly allegations that have been made over and over again. One or the president appoints. So what? I mean, even in the states, actually, the president of the United States appoints the justices of the Supreme Court. But the question is, what procedures, what safety nets do they go through?
He says at no time has the judiciary ever been partisan.
This whole story of the judiciary being used by Museveni is political. And I think we need to stop our politicking and concentrate on actual aspects. If the judiciary was controlled by Museveni, I remember there was a case by NUP about the party. And it was thrown out. I think it was in the interest of Museveni that it shouldn't be, but it was thrown out. You had a point where Honorable Bobby Kyagulanyi was arrested, I think put under house detention, and his house was surrounded. You had soldiers in his compound. The very same court he's saying is used by Museveni ordered for government troops to leave that property. So how can you say it is being used by him and yet you get judgments in your favor? I think it was in the interest of government, it was in the interest of Museveni to keep troops in Kyagulanyi's on Kyagulanyi's property.
You can only conclude that there is bias after your matter has been determined. You wait for the judgment, you read the judgment, you point out areas of bias in that very judgment. But before the matter is heard and determined its merits, you cannot conclude.
For the Electoral Commission lawyer Eric Sabit, Bobby's intent to withdraw could have been motivated by the overwhelming evidence filed by the respondents.
Let's wait to see what happens, whether he withdraws. But if he does not withdraw, we are prepared. We had already filed over, part of the commission, already filed over 76 affidavits in response to the very few allegations. We are set we had almost concluded our part. The case had almost been concluded. I hope he did not see through and withdraw, we're realizing that having looked at our evidence.
Much as the Presidential Election Petition Act allows petitioners to withdraw a petition, but the request can only be granted by the same court. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Enjoy great value from Airtel with the all-new My Pakalast combo offers. We have customized especially for you the best deals on minutes, data, and SMS with our 3-in-1 My Pakalast combo to give you the best value as you stay in touch with friends and family. To activate My Pakalast voice combo, dial *100 *2 *1 hash to get started.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action, and it never tasted this good.
It's UBC News Tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Parliament has started debating the Constitutional Amendment Bill of 2019 tabled by Ndora East MP Wilfred Niwagava. The bill, among others, seeks to reinstate presidential term limits, as our reporter tells it all here.
That area.
The Constitutional Amendment Bill 2019 by Ndora County MP Wilfred Niwagava today appeared in the House for the second reading and debate.
This particular bill is at the debate level.
The bill seeks to remove of army representation in Parliament, restrict ministers to 21, repeal office of RDCs, repeal office of Prime Minister, reinstate presidential term limits, and involve judiciary in appointing Electoral Commission members. Upon examination by the Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, chaired by Honourable Both, their report submitted in May 2020 recommended that political term limits be restored and also recommended extension of political term of office from 5 to 7 years. The report also recommended that army representatives in Parliament remain as ex-officials. During the debate, a big section of members supported the recommendation to reinstate presidential term limits to ensure peaceful transfer of power.
And here somebody saying it is only targeting number one. I think it should target all elective positions that may be 4 terms. You go away, then you allow other people to come. That one will also reduce on the pressure among the competitors, because they will know you are leaving tomorrow, then they will prepare to come at that time when you are leaving.
We need to restore term limits in our constitution. This is something we need to do. We have diluted the constitution so much that as I speak right now, there seems to be less left in that constitution. That if we use this opportunity to restore term limits, for which I was happy in 2017, but we lost it in court, I think we shall have put another safeguard, hoping that subsequent parliaments will not go ahead and remove the term limits again.
However, Ajumane MP Jessica Babiku disagreed with the rest, saying 10 years in leadership doesn't tantamount to overstaying power.
Elections are supposed to be regular and free, and Ugandans are made to take position. Therefore, for me, if Ugandans, some of them are saying they don't want people to overstay in power. The 10 years to me does not amount to overstaying in power.
Members also overwhelmingly trashed the recommendation of the report to extend the political term of office from 5 to 7 years.
Nobody said we are tired of these elections, maybe we should extend them to 7 years. Madam Speaker, the report The report, if you read from page 27, it was talking about term limits. But from the term limits, it veered to come and bring in the extension of the term of the president to 7 years, and of course, this goes with also the other members of parliament. So, Madam Speaker, for me it is very unfortunate, and I want this parliament to actually reject this particular recommendation.
Reading the recommendation to extend the term from 5 to 7, you see an attempt to lead us into temptation. And I would want to ask all of us members that we should not be led into temptation.
The Minister for Constitutional Affairs, Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, asked Parliament to allow government to set up a Constitutional Review Commission to handle the matter, but this was rejected by the House.
That you allow time for government to constitute a Constitutional Review Commission so that the amendment of the Constitution can be comprehensively examined and treated for coherence and order for the proper constitution of the country.
What we are doing is the business of this House. You are free, but you can't stop us from doing our work. When you are ready with your commission and their report, you let us know.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Whereas the Legal Parliamentary Affairs Committee recommends that Army MPs should remain in Parliament as ex-officials, a big section of legislators think that even other law enforcement agencies like police and prisons should be represented. The debate continues tomorrow. Bernard Higa, UBC News at Parliament.
Thank you, Bernard. We await for the continuation of the debate tomorrow. Cabinet has again resolved to merge all its agencies, commissions and authorities in a move aimed at reducing its expenditures. With a grace period of 3 years for reorganization and preparation, government is expected to save over 900 billion per annum. This was revealed by Minister for ICT Judith Nabakova at a press briefing in Kampala.
In 2017, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni directed the Vice President Edward Kiwanuka II and Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda to lay down strategies for merging of government agencies, commissions, authorities and boards. Nearly 5 years down the road, the same resolution has been adopted by Cabinet.
Cabinet sitting on the 22nd of February received and noted a plan for the merging and consolidating of a number of institutions. The proposed plan presented a roadmap that will be followed over a period of 3 years to reorganize a number of ministries and institutions with a view of improving service delivery.
In a cabinet sitting of 22nd February 2021, chaired by the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, agencies, commissions, authorities and boards have been accorded a grace period of 3 years before merging.
The proposed reorganization of government entities will save government to a tune of 988 billion Ugandan shillings, while at the same time increasing efficiency. In order to embark on this process of reorganization, Cabinet noted the following specific processes. A circular will be issued to public service communicating a freeze on the creation of new agencies, commissions, and authorities, and providing guidance on the management of the transition arrangements for the boards and staff whose contracts will expire in the due course of this reorganization.
For workers or employees whose contracts will be intercepted during the process, a compensation module will be instituted.
The legal framework of the affected agencies will also be reviewed. An institutional and structural framework, including terms and conditions of service of employees, will be reviewed and financial implications will be established. The revised structures of ministries, departments and agencies and financial implications of the reorganization, rationalization will be presented to Cabinet for approval. The credentials of the employees who will be affected in the different agencies will also be taken note of, and those who will be absorbed in the mainstream public service will be validated.
According to the Minister in charge of Information, Communication, Technology and National Guidance, Judith Nabakova, the move is aimed at stemming down government expenditures, where over 100 agencies, authorities, as well as over 1,000 employees are likely to be trapped.
This time round, Cabinet is more than determined to see that we do that reorganization. First of all, you realize that the expenditure is too much. Of course, they are offering services, but we believe that the same services can still be offered if those agencies return to the mother ministry. We are looking at government saving money, but also strengthening the mother ministries. And I believe this time round, since a time frame is given of 3 years, there will be an opportunity for them to be reoriented, trained, taken through what government is expected to do, and also be in position to plan the transition process together with those affected agencies.
The 22nd February Cabinet sitting also resolved to constitute an interministerial technical committee to monitor, evaluate, guide and implement the merging process. Although the merging of government agencies has been a resolution which has stalled for years, this time round government is determined to walk the talk. Robert Onyango, UBC News, Kampala.
Gulu University has officially started testing for COVID-19. The University Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Okello Owiny, says that the Ministry of Health has approved the exercise. The university has also received 6 machines which will quicken the testing process. Dr. Pascal Apio of Gulu Regional Referral Hospital says that the laboratory will now shorten the distance between the hospital and the laboratory, unlike in the past where the tests would be taken to the Uganda Virus Research Institute in Entebbe.
Gulu University Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Associate Professor Okello Owiny says that the university has the capacity to carry out up to 1,000 tests in an hour. He made the statement in a meet with the media team at the Northern Uganda Media Club in Gulu City.
I would like to let you know that you go and tell the public that the lab is up and running. It is a form of accountability. This lab, there was a lot of money spent on it.
The Deputy Vice-Chancellor held up a letter signed by the Director General Health Services, Henry Mwebesa, showing that the laboratory was accredited on the 25th of January 2021 and it will be officially launched in March 2021. The head of the Faculty of Medicine, Dr. Felix Kaduchu, revealed that community members will receive free tests. A small fee, which will be in accordance with the Ministry of Health, will be levied on corporate bodies and people seeking express tests.
This lab is not isolated. It's within the health system. It's a contribution from the university, as the VC say. But the corporate ones and an emergency, sometimes the emergency come and say, we need these results the next day. I think those are the elements Dr. Richard was talking about. We may have to charge some little cost.
The laboratory is housed at the multifunctional laboratory, which was commissioned by President Yoweri Kaguta Habura Museveni on the 11th of January 2021. The laboratory becomes the second in northern Uganda after Adjumani. It is run by 8 staff from the Faculty of Medicine.
The ground floor, those are open for students' research. So the access up is totally cut off from the students, but these lower areas where like the ground floor, you're able to come there, anyone can come there, students can be able to.
1,318 positive people have been isolated in various facilities in Gulu City since the first case of COVID-19 was identified in May 2020.
Arua District Government is stuck with billions of shillings meant to implement budget for the ending 2020-21 financial year. Shillings 98,867,83 shillings was approved by Arua District Council that consisted of councillors from the current Terego District, Arua City, and the residual Arua District, whose term of office will expire in May this year. However, less than 45% of that budget has been implemented since July 1st, 2020. Before Terego District and Arua City were carved out of Arua District last year, councillors from the Greater Arua had approved the budget for 2020-2021 financial year. The lion's share of the total budget of shillings over 90 million was allocated to education and health sectors, shillings over 32 million and 9.6 million respectively. The most effective budget implementation in this financial year has been payment of salaries and emoluments for civil servants and councillors from Terego, Arua City and residual Arua District, as projects in education, roads and other sectors seem to be limping. Councillors are worried should the money not be fully utilized, the balance will be reversed to the consolidated fund once time catches up with it.
Part of this, I want to assure you, we are spending less than 45%. We are stuck with a lot of monies. A lot of works have just started. If I tell you classroom construction is just at the foundation level, you can see the problem. If which has been exhausted successfully is only salaries, pensions, this is consumable monies. But money meant for service to eradicate poverty, we are stuck with this money. Anguyo Pario's concern is that reversing the money to the central government is frustrating amidst high need for project implementation.
Disturbs me is some of the developmental monies. Where is it working? I don't see it working anywhere. Like you see, like you do, I don't see it working anywhere, and that's very frustrating for me. I'm saying let it go out. Mine is to give you directives. When they fail to implement it, I will expose them. I will say in this sector, this much money was not used.
Arua District Chief Administrative Officer Donath Eswilu explains how budget is being implemented this financial year.
Implementing my budget as approved by council, full stop. I don't want to go into your politics.
No. Arua District Chairman and also Arua City Mayor-elect Wadri Sam Nyakuya says there is no need for alarm about budget implementation.
Reducing our presence in the water sector, we are busy siting boreholes, drilling. We are grading some of the roads. Under food and nutrition project, so many things are going on. Okay. As planned.
Residents of Gifunzo village in Jihi Parish, Chahi sub-county, Nyakinama, Kisoro district are in grief after a 13-year-old youth went missing. Primary 5 pupil of St. Lawrence Primary School, known as Loving Irina Twe, went missing on Sunday morning.
The parents of a 13-year-old Primary 5 pupil of St. Lawrence Primary School, Nyakainama in Kisoro district are looking for their son, who went missing a few days ago. The mother of Irina Itwe says she last spoke to her son 3 days ago and asked him to go to church, but he has since not appeared.
Isaka zageze ndanganya ya mu kanisa ngo yagiye gusoma sanga tagiye gusoma ndaturatesha ndamubwira ndi uziyogoshesheje ku mbere ugiye mu tawuni ni wewe uraburi nasko uje gupakinga ibintu mu duka mu market ageza arambwira ngo kenze nenda kuza gusoma kandi uzaze kwa hango niyo twenda kuja ari gutaha mu nzu kwa gadi kana agiye kugera mu rugo saa imwe n'igice nsanga umwana ndawe barambyengeje bamubonye ntungamo yarushe yahambiriye ikijamba ku gare ca buraka kitariho zipu cingufiri anajana n'igishumuruzo c'igare kunibyo namuherutsemo noye bambubonye ntungamo ari kuja ko ba owadi kwa cakwera uri ufite tipa uzanaga amatoki ku gikona c'amatoki niho yakoze iki niho bari kumbyana yaragiye umwana yarabagino ari ni wari gukurikira witwa award.
The case of the missing child has now been reported to Kisoro police.
Mutiyambo umwana urabona polisi wese mumushikirize n'aba polisi bose abashinzwe by'amategeko badufashe twaripotinze ku polisi ya Gisoro baduyambe mbese ubuyobozi bwose mutuyambe mudufashe.
Umwana wa Brown mugufi munini, so nyabona ndi gutera umuranga, uramubona aterizo namba zo bavuze cyane ni yanje 0775 47 41 21.
One of the village mates of Alinaitwe claims he met him in Tungambo district on his way to Mbara, allegedly to check on his relatives.
Namudareba kumugaruza ngo ni mugeza Mbarara, mbona nanje ntaragera ndagera no kugije kayara ku check point rakuno
na ni gare n'umuntu kupiki
kumuzana ho nenda muzana so no kuba yanze nabuze kuno ko namugaruza Mbarara ho nyine.
Yaraje mu gitondo turabyuka turasimura, turangije gusimura aravuga ngo agiye kuyogoshesha, yambara isati y'umuhondo, ni yero, yambara n'impare ya black iri mu bukubo bwa white, nuka kutano kutako, nuka aragenda aravuga ngo agiye kuyogoshesha. Kuva ncugiye ntabwo yongeye kugaruka, agenda na nigare, turategereza ngo aragaruka nti yagaruka.
13-year-old missing in Kisoro. We pray that they get to find him. Minister of Health Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng has disputed social media reports alleging that President Yoweri Museveni and others are already in possession of the COVID-19 vaccine. The alleged fake news came in just ahead for Uganda to receive its first consignment of COVID-19 vaccine to benefit close to 28 million Ugandans, starting with the essential workers.
The Ministry of Health has noted with concern an article that was published in today's Daily Monitor titled Museveni Inner Circle Got COVID Jabs, US Paper. The Monitor article further quotes an American newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, that reported that members of President Yoweri Museveni's inner circle were offered vaccines from China's state-owned drug maker Sinopharm. On behalf of the Ministry of Health and the government of Uganda, I want to categorically state that neither President Yoweri Museveni nor any of his inner circle have been vaccinated against COVID-19, as alleged by both the Daily Monitor and the American newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. Both media houses are spreading false and unfounded information with potential of misleading the population and defaming the name of the president. In December 2020, the government of Uganda, upon request from the Chinese embassy in Uganda, authorized the importation of 4,000 doses of the Chinese COVID-19 vaccine for Liao Shane Industrial Park in Kapeka, Nakaseke District, through Sino Africa Medicines and Health Limited, strictly for exclusive use by the said Chinese nationals in the park. The ministry would like to reiterate that these vaccines have not been used for any Ugandan other than the target population, that is, the Chinese nationals living in Kapeka.
Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng there clarifying on news that the president is already possessing the COVID-19 vaccine. We thank you so much for watching. At this point, let's take a very short break. We have more. Please keep it with us.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Did you know between 200 and 350 million people live within or adjacent to forested areas around the world? Local communities are at the forefront of the symbiotic relationship between humans and forests, forest-dwelling wildlife species, and the ecosystem services they provide. This 3rd March 2021, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate World Wildlife Day 2021 under the theme Forests and Livelihoods, Sustaining People and Planet, as a way to highlight the central role of forests, forest species and ecosystems serving in sustaining the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people globally. Join us for a talk show Thursday 25th February, 9 a.m. on UBC, powered by Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities and partners.
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles. MTN.
Thank you so much for watching. It's UBC News Tonight. Traders in Iganga town are counting losses after fire gutted over 10 roadside kiosks. The fire that started at around 4:30 a.m. destroyed merchandise and brand new motorcycles valued at over 1 billion shillings. Most of the shops that are crowded along the busy Iganga Kalido highway deal in motorcycles, motor vehicle spare parts and other general merchandise. Most of them were victim to the fire.
I came here early morning and I was very shocked. A lot of things had been burnt. Fridges, sodas, butcheries, as well as a shop that was selling motorbikes. The affected business community are crying for help and they are urging their leaders to come and support them since most of them have loans in microfinance institutions. I was at home when a fellow trader called me and said our business premises was on fire, so we rushed there only to find that our premises had been burnt down. We don't know what had caused it, but the fire has been disastrous.
Government has developed a bill to address accreditation of conformity assessment matters, identifying gaps in the existing laws in the country. According to the Minister for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Amelia Chambade, the bill that was passed by Parliament on the 10th of February 2021 will make a significant contribution to the development of the economy.
Parliament passed the Accreditation for Conformity Assessment Bill 2018 on 10th of February 2021. The bill establishes an international recognized and effective accreditation system in Uganda. According to the Minister of Trade, Amelia Chambade, the bill focuses on establishing Uganda's national accreditation system as a legal entity responsible for carrying out accreditation in respect of conformity assessment and calibration under Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
This body will hire specialized technical people to assess a specific area. If you want to assess, let's say, agriculture, you get agriculture experts in that committee.
Chambade adds that the accreditation will provide a framework for the private sector to participate in providing conformity assessment services.
To ensure that even the bodies that are assessing quality conform with the international standards. So you need a legal framework to be able to constitute a team of experts to ensure that the standards we are using in the country are up to the international standards level.
Among the entities regulated by accreditation services include public conformity assessment services and private conformity assessment facilities.
We have been hiring those services from South Africa and from Kenya. Imagine. But now we have our own legal framework.
The application of accreditation system will make a significant contribution to the development of the economy, promotion of sustainable and all-inclusive industrialization through research, innovation, and adoption of new technologies. Jane Ramchisha, UBC News.
Over 800 residents of Bugumba village in Northern Division, Iganga municipality are being affected by constant power outages. Residents of the village who had stormed the residence of their chairman LC1 complaining about the damages caused by the on and off of the power cuts bed their story to our reporter.
Kusonga ya masanyalaze chitofukire kizibu chitundu chaifu.
Mulani is the chairman LC1 of Bugumba village. He tells us that it's now 4 years down the road with off and on power blackouts. Residents here have made attempts to lodge complaints to umeme offices, but in vain.
Bani batusuubiza n'abakulu be n'abaumeme twajayo abantu abaswika 20 oba kwasatu amambaluwa gali yagaswika.
As a result, residents made a tile count of properties they have lost to the intermittent power outage. Here in Bugumba village, maintaining business is difficult. Beverages business would be the most lucrative venture for a small-scale earner to invest in, but with the absence of power sustainability, many are out of business. However, even those in the real estate business are affected. Many landlords have lost tenants due to the persistent load shedding in their premises.
Amafiriji gafire, amativi gafire, nganze kulwa ngenze na mukasi. TV biri dakayokebwa n'esimu irala. Buti olutasa twabake tuzira.
The lack of stable power in this place has affected also government programs of educating students and pupils via television. The power outages here has not only affected businesses, but it has also caused insecurity in this village. A trend of lawbreakers is on an increase. Criminals take advantage of the dark spots at peak hours of the night to rain terror on the community.
Kale abayibi basobola okubikolesa ekyo chance eyo basobola ogikolesa babanga bali kwiba ekitundu kino.
Residents have asked the government to intervene into their matters to save the situation.
Saba government yetuyambe wamu n'abana akandi baife betulonda batugemereku.
We tried to approach umeme officers in Iganga, but still there was no response.
Uganda continues to showcase a peaceful and favorable investment climate that defines the country's stewardship towards economic development. The proprietor of Zhong's Industries, Zhong Shuangkwa, encourages investors from within and outside Africa to embrace the opportunity for socio-economic progress. His appeal comes days after Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni received a special message from the Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, cementing bilateral relations between the two countries.
This plastic manufacturing plant found at Namamve Industrial Park is just one of those Chinese established investments in Uganda. It produces millions of plastic and other products, employing hundreds of Ugandans. It is an undertaking worth being proud of, not just by the brains behind, but also by the locals, including authorities.
In a day, we make a production of something 1,000 something bags of production. That depends on whether there is power or there is no power.
The recent boost in the purchase of this multi-billion shilling jerrycan processing equipment clearly shows it is work in progress.
Because we have been having production that is on demand and the machines are less. So with this more machines coming and more steel coming in, I think we shall have more production.
Zongshuang Kwa is the brain behind this initiative, which is a subsidiary of Zong's Industries. He took advantage of Uganda's favorable investment climate to set up this venture.
The better infrastructure will provide a better life for Uganda, and also better infrastructure will help the private sector like us investor here to follow the footstep of the state-of-art manufacturer technology.
Such investments could be consolidated if only the bilateral relations between China and Uganda are strengthened.
We asked also that Uganda Airlines should be permitted to fly into China, and for them to consider to give a slot for Uganda Airlines to be able to fly direct to Guangzhou and other capital cities.
Fortunately, there is no single sign of such partnership running amok. The recent visit by the special representative of Chinese President Xi Jinping is a clear-headed gesture.
Since 1949, when the Communist Party came to power in China, African freedom fighters have been working with China.
The relationship between China and Uganda has seen development of infrastructure take shape in the Pearl of Africa. This includes agriculture, where rice farming in Lukaya is taking shape. There is also power generation, where construction of Isimba and Karuma power dams spells loom for the country's power stability.
So that's why when China government has expressed the interest to deepen the bilateral relationship based on last year's strategic partner, it will help investor to boost the industrialization in Uganda.
The continuous favorable investment climate in Uganda has seen China offer more socio-economic support to Uganda. The support has not been confined to Uganda, but extended to other parts of Africa, a position that requires consolidating. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Henry Okurut, thank you so much there with that investor, Zhou Sha Kwang. At this point, we'll take another break. On return, we have international news. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Now, on the international scene, the cost of tests performed at the Rwanda Forensic Laboratory, including DNA, has now dropped by nearly 50%, according to Bavugirije Pascal, who works at the department. The test helps to identify the merger between a person and the crime committed, as well as to show the relationship between people. Samvura also says that due to the way the government cares for its people, prices have dropped compared to the time tests were conducted abroad.
We all have a connection to two parents. These parents, each giving a child 50%. DNA is made up of genes that are also used to make signs of relationship. We see if the child has what the parent had to give them, which is 50% of the mother's match. In order for a person to be related to the child and confirm that he or she is the one who gave birth to the child, the match must be at the rate of 99.999%. When they are not related, there is no average. These criteria are international. When it is found that there is something mismatching, we immediately know that there is no connection.
tugaragaza yuko iyo sano idahari. Icyo gihe ntabwo umubyeyi aba abyara uwo mwana.
Samvura Jean-Pierre.
A senior Tunis health official on Saturday evening announced that a death from the new variant of COVID-19 was recorded at the Mongi Slim Hospital in the capital of Tunis, reported by the Tunis Afrique Press.
Was found in a patient admitted at the Mongi Slim Hospital. Researchers at the health department are keen to determine how the novel coronavirus has evolved.
We detected one mutation which is common on some of the variants that exist now in Britain, in Brazil, in South Africa, and this is one mutation, but with other mutations that are new, that did not exist in the variants in Europe and other places in the world.
Some experts at the Pasteur Institute in Tunis have warned about the highly transmissible new COVID variants and the danger they could pose through vaccine resistance.
Now, the hypothesis that the variant could escape immune response exists, so we have to do investigation in vitro in the laboratory in order to check if the antibodies that are developed after vaccination are effective against the new variant. This should be done.
Tunisia's Minister of Health says public hospitals and private clinics are struggling to cope with a quick rise in the number of COVID-19 cases.
We've recorded serious shortages in intensive care beds despite the efforts made to increase their number. ICU beds in public hospitals are about...
Yes, we'll wind up with sports news. Uganda's team leader at the Africa Cup of Nations Under-20 tournament in Mauritania, Rogers Mulindwa, is beaming confidence ahead of Uganda's first ever quarter-final appearance on the African continent. Uganda's Under-20 side, commonly known as the Hippos, secured a quarter-final berth after coming second in Group A following victories over Mozambique and Mauritania. They now play Burkina Faso in the quarterfinals on Thursday, with Rogers Mulindwa optimistic that success is along the way.
The team is okay, and we are ready for a match against Burkina Faso. We have had an opportunity to face some of the good footballing countries on the continent. When you arrived here, we played Mozambique. We've had an opportunity to play Cameroon. We have played the hosts Mauritania, and it's now Burkina Faso. But even before coming here, we had engagements in Tanzania, 2 friendly matches against them. Tanzania is also a good country. But even earlier before that, we were in Sekafa, played the South Sudan, very energetic physical team. We played Burundi, we played Kenya, we played Tanzania again. So when you look at the countries that have remained into the quarterfinals, when you look at Ghana, Morocco, Central African Republic, Gambia, Burkina Faso, Tunisia, Cameroon, none of these are small footballing countries. And Uganda is not small. So we shall face it. What we need from Ugandans is the prayers. The boys are okay. We have no big issues, and we hope with your prayers we can walk out victory.
Yes, that is Uganda's team leader in Mauritania, Rogers Mulindwa, airing optimism that we shall have good results come Thursday. We thank you so much for watching. That brings us to the end of all we had for you this evening. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. On behalf of the whole team, wish you the best of the night. Let's catch you in our other programs. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by
At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
Time of the day when we bring you the latest in weather. A very warm welcome. My name is Molin Kenyana and I will be taking you through tonight's weather report. Now, the big story that everyone is talking about is still the hazy conditions that we are seeing across much of the country. Now, that is still ongoing as we are still seeing those high pressure systems north of our continent. Now, those are pushing dry, dusty winds through the Sahara Desert, and that is responsible for the haze we are seeing across much of the country. Also, the dry and sunny weather that we have, most especially across the northern sector. At the same time, we have some local effects of Lake Victoria, also bringing us some rains across the Lake Victoria Basin and mostly the southern sector. Now, tomorrow morning, we are starting off with rains. Those will be mostly in form of light rains across the islands of Lake Victoria and a few parts of central. Otherwise, the rest of the country, we shall see a mix of clouds and sunshine. Later in the afternoon is when we expect more rains across the Lake Victoria Basin, parts of central extending all the way up to southwestern Uganda. Otherwise, the rest of the country, you can expect to maintain those sunny intervals. Now, at daytime highs, we are likely to have a maximum of 27 for Kampala. Warm weather for eastern Uganda and northern Uganda will see a maximum of 30, and we are likely to have temperatures go up to 28 across western Uganda. Some of the world cities we have for you, we're forecasting cloudy conditions. Those will be across London as well as Dubai. Dubai will go up to 29 degrees. We are still forecasting that snow across Moscow with temperatures well below zero at negative 11 degrees. Also likely to have rainy conditions for Mombasa and very warm weather at 30 degrees. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's weather report. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Molin Kenyana. Have a good night.
Brought to you by At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
This weekend on UBC.
Hey. As YouTube's popularity continues to grow, the content creators, people that upload stuff on it, their reputation also grows with it. I have a very beautiful and charming lady with a brains as well, the host of our very own show, which also runs on YouTube, called A Chat with Methia.
Hello everyone, it's your girl Methia Lydia. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is my first video. I hope you enjoy your stay here as you have a chat with Methia. I've always wanted to do a show like sitting down with someone and profiling people, talking about their lives, discussing issues, something of the sort. Though I presented my ideas to different TV stations and they all
always
rejected.
take time. They say we shall get back to you.
They tell you to think about it, but they never really do. They don't get back to you. Some of them just reject you and they're like, no, we can't do that. So I was
Wait,
like...
have you faced any rejections?
Yes, on TV. Like, you take your proposals, and because I've always wanted TV, like from day one, I've always wanted TV.
Yeah.
Believe in what you do. No matter how many people are there to compete with you, just believe you're the best.